His friends and loved ones are enemies he has to deal with in order to get home as soon as possible. I'd like to point out that he deals with everyone smartly except Toritsuka, who he just punches in the stomach. Anyway, he ends up getting chased by a giant version of his grandpa, and that's when the game gets paused. Turns out, Saiki was at home playing the game all along. What a weird game that is. Episode 20 kicks off with Toritsuka being popular with the girls? How? Well, turns out Toritsuka has been letting a bunch of spirits take over his body lately, and a lot of girls have been impressed by his antics. It's going so well for him that he has a group of 13 girls following him to the movies. Saiki follows him too, undercover as a girl, and that's when trouble finds Toritsuka. You see, he lets the ghosts inhabit his body for so long that they don't want to give it back to him. It's no longer his own body. Toritsuka begs Saiki for help, who obviously helps him get his body back. But by then, all the ladies have lost interest in Toritsuka. Serves him right. But Toritsuka isn't done annoying Saiki. He comes up to him the next day at school and says he wants to start his own club. Of course, the purpose of this club is to get girls. For this, he wants Saiki's help to open an occult club, where they research the supernatural. Toritsuka's logic is simple. Apparently, people often confuse fear with love. It's called the misattribution of arousal, or MOA for short, and Toritsuka wants to use it to get some chicks. Sicko. He and Saiki started the club.
Hi, nice to meet you.
And the first person to show up is a girl named Arisu Makino, a weird girl obsessed with everything supernatural. Yeah, she gives me the creeps. Kaido shows up next, followed by Chiyo. Saiki uses this as an opportunity to try and get Kaido to like Chiyo back through MOA, and he scares everyone. But while it doesn't make Kaido like Chiyo anymore, it does make Toritsuka fall in love with Arisu. Talk about a match made in hell. Ew. The next day, Saiki and his class have their home ec class, and they're supposed to be cooking crepes. Now, Saiki loves sweet crepes, and he's determined to make some good ones. Unfortunately, he's paired with Hiro and Kaido, who both suck at cooking. Surprise, surprise. They can't crack eggs, don't know how to follow the ingredients list, and even blow up a microwave. And they do all of that just making the batter. Saiki ends up making a pretty good batter by himself, and they take turns cooking. Kaido fails first, flipping his crepe onto Mr. Matsuzaki's face. Yeesh. Weird way to serve. Hiro fails second, burning his crepe to the 7th circle of hell. And when it's Saiki's turn, they realize Mera ate all of their batter. That's one hungry girl. But lately, Saiki knows he's being followed around. But it's not by some evil organization who wants his powers, it's Teruhashi's fan club. Apparently, there are thousands of members in the club, including kids from other schools, teachers, and even some high-ranking politicians. I'm not even gonna begin to touch on how that is. Anyway, after Teruhashi talks to him at school, the Teruhashi fan club kidnaps Saiki, and he lets it happen. When his eyes open, he's in a dark room surrounded by what I can only assume are a bunch of Reddit moderators. The leader of the Teruhashi fan club is, surprise surprise, Toru. This guy is a bigger creep than Toritsuka. They discuss what to do with Saiki, and most of them want him dead. What? Overreaction much? But Toru decides that since Saiki is a big part of Teruhashi's happiness, they'll let him live. But Saiki is pissed. He wanted to use this as an excuse to get rid of Teruhashi. I guess he's still stuck with her. The next day, Saiki can't escape the number 100. No matter what he does, both his friends and everyone around them can't stop mentioning the number 100. He finds 100 yen. They see 100 cars. There are 100 people in front of the mall, 100 flowers. An old man is 100 years old. Toru shows up and threatens to give him 100 lashes of torture. You know, standard Saiki stuff, but with the number 100 shoved everywhere. Saiki wonders what's going on when a ghostly figure appears and reveals the truth. It's the 100th episode of the anime. FYI, each Saiki episode is broken up into 5 mini episodes. But that's when Saiki points out that mini episodes don't count, and this is only the 20th episode of the anime. And just like that, everything goes back to normal. The next episode starts with disaster striking. A stray baseball hits and breaks Saiki's hairpin. He tries restoring it, but his powers are out of control, and he ends up restoring it to 7 years ago before it was assembled. What's more, his telepathy has increased, so he can hear people all around the world now. Saiki then runs into Nendo, and he knows it's bad news. So, he distracts Nendo and teleports back home, begging his dad to fix his hairpin. But his dad can't do it. In fact, the only person who can is his older brother Kusuke. So, they call Kusuke, who's watching everything on a hidden camera and says he's on it. Creepy. But since Kusuke can't come to them, the family has to travel to London. Saiki's parents get caught up in sightseeing, which really annoys him. But that is when Kusuke shows up, wearing a jetpack. Show off? Turns out, Kusuke is an absolute genius with an IQ of 218. He started speaking when he was a month old, and he's been brilliant ever since. Seriously, what is this dodo couple eating before making their babies? Anyway, no matter how smart Kusuke was, he couldn't deal with the fact that Saiki had damn superpowers. As a result, the two brothers always hated each other. The last time Saiki saw him was 4 years ago when he went to study abroad, but Kusuke seems pretty chill and fixes his hairpin immediately, bringing Saiki back to normal. That's when Saiki realizes something is off. He can't read his brother's thoughts. Kusuke reveals that the weird device on his head isn't just for fashion, it's so Saiki can't read his thoughts. He then sends his parents off on a date before challenging Saiki to rock, paper, scissors. Saiki wins, and Kusuke says that makes their score in rock, paper, scissors 725 to 0. Yikes, that's a lot of losses. You see, Kusuke has been keeping score, combining all sorts of games and competitions. He's lost to Saiki 4,254 times! What a psycho! They then teleport to a hotel room, where Saiki learns something horrifying. Kaido and Nendo are in the room next to them. Kusuke invited them over because he has an agenda. He wants to play tag with Saiki inside the city of London, and Saiki has to take his friends so he can't use his powers. The deal is simple. Saiki has 3 hours to avoid being caught. If he wins, Kusuke will treat him to the glorious tea and sweets this cafe has to offer. So Saiki agrees. He's such a sucker for sweets. With that, Saiki grabs his friends, who were surprisingly hyped for the game of tag. But Kusuke had everything planned out. The subways are closed, and the line of the bus is way too long. So, Saiki and his buddies hop on bikes and avoid cameras.
We've got pretty far.
We're pretty out of breath.
Only for Kusuke to find them. Saiki realizes Kusuke hid a transmitter in the hairpin. That's how he's tracking them. Still, they manage to get away and hide in a store with time ticking down. Kusuke makes an announcement that makes the three musketeers look like villains, so everyone chases after them. They end up hiding in a bathroom, and Kusuke follows them there. Sure of his victory, Kusuke opens the door, only to see 3 random dudes inside. Turns out, Saiki is in the bathroom on the 2nd floor, something Kusuke's transmitter can't see. With that, time runs out, and Saiki beats Kusuke again. But Kusuke isn't giving up anytime soon. He's a goddamn masochist. I can see why Saiki hates him. The next day, Kusuke spends time with their parents while Saiki visits the art museum with Nendo and Kaido. Though Nendo and Saiki both really don't get art, Kaido is surprisingly perceptive about it, deconstructing the meaning of every art piece he sees rather impressively. That's when Nendo makes a random painting, and the director of the museum absolutely loves it. In fact, he immediately has it hung on the wall, and the visitors love it too. But when Kaido tries doing the same, his art gets rejected. I don't get art, and it looks like Kaido doesn't get it either. The next episode starts with Saiki being excited for summer break, a month where he gets to be all by himself. Unfortunately for him, all his friends want to do something with him over the break. Kaido and Kuboyasu want to get motorcycle licenses. Mera wants him to help her with her job. Haido wants him to go to his training camp. And Toritsuka wants to hold a training camp for the occult club. Saiki masterfully rejects them all, meaning there's one threat left. Teruhashi. She asks him out on a date, and Saiki wants to say no, so he telepathically brings over every guy in school, and Teruhashi is too embarrassed to ask Saiki out in front of them. Unfortunately, that leads to a domino effect of him having to say yes to everyone who wanted to do something with him, and that means that instead of a month, only 1 day of Saiki's summer break is free, which Teruhashi ends up booking later on. Poor Saiki. The next day, he shows up at the occult club's training camp, but Chiyo and Toritsuka have hidden agendas to make their crushes fall for them. Saiki is gonna hate this. At night, they decide to split up and investigate. Toritsuka tries pairing with Arisu, while Chiyo tries pairing with Kaido. But Saiki's psychic shenanigans sees them end up as a pair themselves, with Kaido and Arisu as a pair. Chiyo and Toritsuka are heading along and develop a crush on each other. Really? That quickly? Fortunately, those feelings disappear when a wild boar appears and Toritsuka completely abandons Chiyo. What a loser! The next day, Saiki and Nendo go to Haido's tennis training camp. Their coach, who's a total heart, is stunned by Nendo's athleticism. Though he's never played tennis before, Nendo gets put in a match with Haido, but Nendo says he'll only play if Saiki plays with him. Great! So, Saiki and Nendo begin their match with Haido. Nendo absolutely kills it, and Saiki knows that if they win, he'll have to join the tennis club. So, Saiki just hits the ball away. One problem with that, he hits it really far away, and now everyone is impressed with his power. With that, he has no choice but to complete the whole week of training. After that, he joins Nendo and Mera for her job, which turns out to be a clinical trial for a mysterious pill. Saiki takes it and it has no effect on him. But Nendo and Mera have side effects. A lot of them. Disappearing oversized right arms, overnight obesity, turning into giants, you name it. Fortunately for the idiots, Saiki is there to return them to normal each time. Still, what the hell is in those pills? As the test comes to an end, the scientist reveals that the pills were all placebos. They have absolutely no effect on you. Saiki says that it's bull. After all, Nendo and Mera have turned into Mr. and Mrs. Olympia today. That's when the scientist says that those two idiots ate a mysterious mushroom which caused all of this.
Over. Shouldn't eat that mushroom, Meta. Tastes nasty.
Why did you try it?
And Saiki just sighs. Before he can recover from that, Saiki is with Kaido and Kuboyasu getting his motorcycle license. While it's smooth sailing for Saiki, the other two have problems. Kaido is too weak to pick his motorcycle off the ground, and Kuboyasu has no idea what the signs on the road mean. The instructor says that they're both hopeless, but they refuse to give up. And so, after 2 weeks of grueling training, Kaido can pick up his motorcycle and Kuboyasu can read all the signs. Saiki gets his license without breaking a sweat, and just like that, there's 1 day left in summer break. And Saiki is gonna spend that day at the amusement park with Teruhashi. Luckily for Saiki, he brought Yuta along, who really wants to see a Ciderman show that's being held. So they go there, and the villain has to abduct someone from the crowd. He picks Teruhashi because she's beautiful, and, charmed by her looks, goes completely off script and knocks Ciderman out cold.
Don't hurt me.
I'm sorry, miss.
With that, Saiki has no choice. The crowd puts Ciderman's helmet on him, and he takes the bad guy out, which makes Teruhashi jump in his arms. An unwilling hero is seriously the funniest kind of hero. The next episode kicks off with a new transfer student named Mitori Saiko joining PK Academy. There's no other way to put this. Saiko is filthy, stinking, dirty, and disgustingly rich. Normally, he'd never even consider studying at what he calls a dump like PK Academy, but he has one important agenda. He wants to marry Teruhashi. He enters class and starts buying people off and proposes to Teruhashi immediately. Kobayasu really hates him, so he starts fighting with his bodyguard. Meanwhile, Teruhashi considers his proposal. He's rich as hell after all. He follows her into the girl's bathroom and asks her to say yes.
Let me rescue you from a life of poverty.
But Teruhashi says no. He insulted her friends. Besides, she already likes Saiki, and at that exact moment, Saiki walks into the bathroom. Oh boy. Saiki pretends to be asleep, and Teruhashi buys it thinking he didn't hear. Delulu much? Anyway, she rejects Saiko, who says fine, but it's not fine at all. Now salty, Saiko begins ruining the lives of Teruhashi's friends. He plans to have Kaido and Saiki's dad transfer to Siberia, and messes with Nendo and Mera too. Saiki's had enough of the bolt, so he grabs Teruhashi's fan club and goes after Saiko. When the fan club takes down the guards outside, Saiki shows up wearing Ciderman's mask and slaps Saiko around a bit. He then tells the spoiled brat that money can't buy everything, leaving Saiko buried in a pile of his own money. Richie rich? More like Richie. The next day, Saiki teleports his grandparents over to his home, and Grandpa is being a tsundere as always. They go out shopping, and Kumagoro tells Kuniharu to beat it. He wants to be alone with his daughter and grandson, but he doesn't really tell them that, so they all ditch him and go shopping. Now alone, Kumagoro runs into Nendo, and they become friends? Really? Together, Nendo helps Kumagoro pick out a gift for Saiki, and he ends up picking up some glasses. But Saiki uses body swap to make it so that Kumagoro gives them to Kuniharu instead, and seeing how happy Kumi and Kurumi are, he can't take take it back. That's actually kinda sweet when you think about it. Some time passes, and Halloween is here. Kaido invites Saiki, Nendo, Kuboyasu, and Hiro to his place for a Halloween party. The only problem is, those guys don't know anything about Halloween, so Saiki shows up without a costume, while Hiro and Kuboyasu show up with some really costumes. Nendo also shows up with no costume, but some girls think he's wearing a realistic costume because he's so ugly. Come on, man! Kaido is mad at the guys for not taking Halloween seriously and shuts himself inside a coffin. He's dressed as a vampire. That's when kids start pouring in, and the guys try giving them pumpkins and roasted pork instead of candy. The kids start pranking them, so Saiki scares Kaido into bringing out the candy. The kids do get their candy, and so does Saiki. This guy will do anything for sweets. The next day, we see Psycho, who hasn't left his room since Saiki embarrassed him. That's when his dad shows up and tells him to be even more of a rich scumbag. So, Psycho shows up to school with the intent of buying one of Saiki's friends. He picks Nendo and takes him out to lunch. There, he offers Nendo 1 million yen to be his lackey, but Nendo refuses. 2 million. Still no. 10? A big fat no. Saiki is spying on them the whole time, by the way. And by the time they exit the restaurant, Psycho gives Nendo a briefcase full of 150 million yen to be his lackey. And Nendo empties the briefcase and uses it to save a drowning kid. Turns out Psycho was wrong. Some people just can't be bought with money. Jesus Christ, Nendo is a better man than I am. The very last episode of Season 1 starts with Saiki realizing that Orioku has become a pretty famous magician. So, when Orioku invites Saiki to his show, he goes to see how he's changed. Turns out, Orioku and his assistant have decided to incorporate comedy into their magic show. So, while they suck as magicians, they're world-class comedians now. Saiki is super proud of them, though he doesn't say it. That's when the guy who's the opening act for Orioku sees Saiki. Now, Orioku keeps calling Saiki Master, and this guy is super jealous of Orioku. So, he decides to take it out on Orioku's master and attacks Saiki with a ball. So, Saiki uses his powers to stop the ball and cuts off the guy's clothes, embarrassing him. Unfortunately, this inspires Orioku to drop the comedy and focus just on the magic. No, not again. Meanwhile, Teruhashi runs into Chiyo, and there's a problem. Chiyo has eaten her way to obesity. The poor girl didn't even notice until Mera bit her arm thinking she was food. So, Chiyo started working out in the park, while Saiki reads a book. Saiki sees her struggling to work out and gobbling snacks, so he decides to help her. He puts an image of Kaido in her head, saying he doesn't like fat girls. Chiyo immediately starts training with the kind of conviction that would make David Goggins cry. She not only loses all of the weight she gained, Saiki says she now has the strongest abs of any creature on Earth, and she's still in love with Kaido. Sheesh, I wish I had that kind of motivation to work out. The next day, Saiki has to deal with all of his friends annoying him in the 10-minute break between classes. Hell, even Mr. Matsuzaki, the cat, Yuta, and Kusuke make an appearance. Talk about fan service. Anyway, after Saiki dodges all of that nonsense, he's ready to go home, when Nendo lets slip that they're doing something tomorrow. Kaido shuts him up, and all of Saiki's friends leave, so Saiki spies on them and realizes they're holding a surprise birthday for him tomorrow.
His glasses will shatter!
How'd you do that?
There's 2 problems with that. 1, he hates parties, and 2, it's not even his birthday tomorrow. How the hell did Kaido mess the date up? You see, Saiki's birthday is 3 months away in August, and it's actually Saiki's dad's birthday tomorrow. Saiki wants to stop them from making that mistake until he hears about all the gifts they got him. While everything else is good, Kaido's present is a letter, and in that letter, he expresses how grateful and happy he is to be Saiki's friend. Hearing that, Saiki smiles and walks away. He'll let them do as they please. Aww. The next day, Saiki is making his friends think his dad is Saiki himself. That way, his dad gets a surprise party, and his friends think they celebrated his birthday correctly. Saiki later explains to his dad what's happening and forces Kuniharu to take his place. So, Saiki's dad keeps up the facade, while Saiki uses his powers to make sure the party goes smoothly. This includes fixing Teruhashi and Kuboyasu's gifts after they go to but Saiki's not mad. That's when Saiki's dad comes upstairs and tells Saiki to join his friends. Saiki says he's worried he can't give his friends the kind of enthusiasm and reaction they deserve, but Kuniharu says he's got it all wrong. They're throwing a birthday party for him because they like him the way he is. So Saiki bites, and he goes to enjoy the rest of his party with his friends. Saiki's gone from being a loner to being surrounded by friends who love him and that he loves right back. What a perfect end to Season 1. The first episode of Season 2 kicks off with Saiki complaining about how popular Gintama has gotten. Fourth wall breaking is a superpower too, I guess. After that, it's business as usual for Saiki. He avoids his friends on the way to school, but they all find and corner him once he gets there. Despite being a new season, everything is basically the same. After all, it's just been a week since Saiki's birthday party. Nothing crazy has happened. Yet. Just like that, another Christmas rolls around, and Saiki is determined to have a quiet Christmas this time. To do that, he goes and sits in a park completely alone. How lovely. Meanwhile, Takahashi is working on Christmas, but messes up a cake. Nendo ends up buying that cake and runs into Kaido. They both decide to go to Saiki's house and run into Teruhashi. She's with her brother, but as soon as the crowd finds out he's a famous actor, they all start chasing him. He runs in the direction of Saiki's park, so he teleports back home, only to find Nendo, Kaido, and Teruhashi waiting for him with a cake. There goes yet another quiet Christmas for Saiki. I'm so sorry, man. But while Christmas didn't go according to plan, Saiki has the house all to himself on New Year's. So he grabs some sweets and tea and sits down to enjoy some TV, only to see his parents on a comedy show. He changes that and sees Nendo on Who Wants to Be a Billionaire. As you can imagine, Nendo does terribly and drags poor Kaido along with him. So Saiki changes the channel again and again and again. But no matter what channel he plays, someone he knows is there. Toru's in some new show. Haido catches a baseball at a baseball game. Meta is in a freaking lobster eating competition. Saiki eventually gives up until he sees a channel playing the opening for Saiki Season 1. Now that's gotta be trippy. The next day, Toritsuka comes to Saiki for help. He wants a girl named Aiko to like him. Saiki not only rejects, but when Haido shows up, he drags Toritsuka along for tennis practice. As Saiki puts it, Toritsuka needs to be more like Haido to have a chance with girls. To Toritsuka's surprise, Aiko plays tennis too, so he plans to impress her and ends up getting hit in the face and in the balls. Ouch! Toritsuka wants to use the spirit of a pro tennis player to impress Aiko, and Saiki warns him not to. But Toritsuka does it anyway, and impresses everyone there except Aiko. Turns out she was into helpless guys and already liked Toritsuka, but now, seeing him be good at tennis, she's lost all interest. In fairness to Saiki, he did warn him not to do it. After that, Saiki wants to try a restaurant that serves delicious sweets, but they only serve women. So, Saiki changes his form into a girl and gets in line. This turns out to be a huge mistake, as Chiyo, Meta, and Teruhashi show up to the restaurant. Since Saiki's dressed as a girl from PK Academy, they assume she's a student and sit with her, not knowing she's Saiki. They notice that the girl is quite similar to Saiki, and that's when Chiyo comes up with an idea. Teruhashi should use her to practice confessing to Saiki. So, Teruhashi begins, but before she can finish, Saiki gets up saying he has to use the bathroom. When he does that, he accidentally knocks his bag down, spilling his stuff. Teruhashi and the others see that the notebooks belong to Saiki, so they come to the same conclusion. This girl is Saiki's little sister. They really are idiots, aren't they? God. The next episode kicks off with Saiki coming home to see his parents in a good mood. It's their anniversary. So, despite the fact that Saiki's heard it 100 times before, they tell the story of how they met. 20 years ago, Kurumi was being harassed by some thug, so Kuniharu saved her and they instantly fell in love. But by the time the story is done, Saiki's already in bed. That's when Kusuke calls with some bad news. One of the pieces in Saiki's hairpin was defective. Saiki wakes up the next morning, seeing the sky. He sits up and sees his room is hanging in the air. Knowing he used his powers in his sleep, he goes out to investigate, and something's off. Though this is his hometown, it's not quite the same. That's when he runs into Nendo, who acts like he doesn't know him. That's when Saiki sees her, a younger version of his mom. Saiki checks the date and realizes he's traveled back in time to the day his parents met. He realizes that the guy he met isn't Nendo, but Nendo's dad. Turns out, Nendo's dad was the one who was harassing Saiki's mom. And since Saiki stopped him before he ever tried that, his parents never met. Well, this has all gone down now, hasn't it? Saiki realizes what he needs to do. He needs to get Nendo's dad to mess with his mom again so that his dad can save him. He sets up part 1 of the plan, but his dad doesn't come out to save Kurumi. So, Saiki takes over his dad's friend and throws him at Nendo's dad. Just like that, his parents fall in love again and he's saved the future. With that, he bids Nendo's dad farewell and turns back time on his room, which sends him back to the future, and he goes outside to see a desolate wasteland. Oh no. He walks out and meets post-apocalyptic Toritsuka, who fills him in. Basically, because of the changes in the past, Saiki died 3 years ago. After that, Kusuke made a time machine, which started World War III, and that's how they got here. So, Saiki goes to visit Kusuke, who explains everything. Turns out, the time machine can only go back a day in time. But that's perfect for Saiki. He uses it to go back a day in time, then uses his own powers and goes back 20 years, fixes everything, and returns to the normal present. And if that sounds confusing, welcome to time travel. I hate it just as much as you do. The next day at school, Kuboyasu has a problem. Ever since he fought with Saiko's bodyguard, delinquents have been challenging him to fight through letters, and he's been taking them out, but he doesn't want to do it. That's when he sees a letter that looks different from the others. It's a love letter. In it, a girl named Kumiko confesses to him and says to meet him at a park. Saiki sees all of this and is skeptical, so he turns invisible to spy on Kuboyasu. Turns out, the letter was a fake. It was just a group of delinquents trying to ambush Kuboyasu. Unfortunately though, they messed with the wrong guy. Kuboyasu is heartbroken, so he beats the out of them all. That's what you get for messing with a man's feelings. After that, Saiki is shopping for some new clothes when he runs into Kaido and Nendo. They're both out shopping too, and they seriously disagree with each other's fashion sense. So, against his will, Saiki becomes the judge between their fashion choices. As it turns out, they both have terrible taste. That's when Teruhashi shows up, and Nendo has an idea. He says all 3 of them will pick outfits for her to wear, and she can judge their fashion sense. Since Saiki is there, she agrees. She tries on Kaido's outfit first, and it looks really good. That's when Saiki takes a peek at Nendo's pick, and well, it's scandalous to say the least. So, he picks an outfit and swaps it with Nendo's before bailing. The worst part? The poor bastard didn't even get to buy clothes for himself. The next episode starts smack dab in the middle of winter, and it's snowing like crazy. What's more, when Saiki and his friends get to school, they see that the AC unit in their class is broken. It's like that damn North Pole in there. Other than Hiro doing squats to act as a human heater, Chad, there's no place in the class where they can survive. So, Nendo says they should just go home, but Kaido and Kuboyasu instantly shut that idea down. And that's because a famous comedian named Peanuts Ueda is coming to school in the 5th period, and they cannot miss that. So, they thug it out until 5th period, when someone accidentally breaks the window, making it even colder. That's when Peanuts Ueda shows up, and his kindness warms everyone up, is what they think. In reality, it's just Saiki using Peanuts as a distraction to warm up the class. The next day, Saiki and his buddies have to go to Saiko's house and hand him over an assignment. As we've seen before, Saiko's house is huge, and everyone except Saiki is really impressed. Saiko sees this and decides he's gonna show off his lavish lifestyle to the guys and impress them. Unfortunately, that's not what happens. Kuboyasu keeps downplaying everything expensive he sees. Nendo keeps goofing around. Kaido keeps searching for hidden pathways and moving statues. And Saiki, well, Saiki doesn't give a rat's about anything, as usual. They all spend the day unknowingly humiliating Saiko before they head home. More money, more problems, I guess. But Saiko doesn't give up that easily. A few days later, he invites the guys over to his house again, and this time, he's prepared. He's done extensive research on everyone's hobbies, and he's turned his home into an amusement park cum laude bachelor pad that would even make the manliest man cry of happiness. Saiki and the others plan to not act impressed at all. But the moment they step inside, that goes out the window. Kuboyasu immediately becomes captivated by an extensive motorcycle collection. Kaido gets to see his fantasy of statues that move when you look away from them. And Saiki gets to go into a room made entirely of sweets. They end up spending the entire day there, and Saiko thinks they'll all bow to him now. But they don't. Instead, they thank Saiko for putting in so much effort for them and invite him to their houses. They might not be rich, but they know how to have a good time too. Wait, did they just become friends? The next day, it's snowing like crazy, and Saiki's school gets cancelled again. So, Nendo and Kaido show up, saying they should build a snowman. Much like Elsa, Saiki refuses to build a snowman until he gets a vision of Nendo being hurt. So, he follows his friends. As the two build a snowman, Saiki makes sure to keep them out of harm's way, and that's when the vision changes. It's Kaido who's in danger now. So after some more babysitting, Saiki is convinced his friends will be okay now. That's when he realizes that the visions he had weren't of his friends actually being hurt. It was just them playing dead. I guess the point of Saiki's vision was to spend some quality time with his buddies. Some more time passes, and now graduation has come around. Saiki doesn't care since he's a second-year student, and the only guy he kinda knows in third year is Kongu, who was a nightmare. But his friends are all super emotional. They have friends in third year. Chiyo, for example, dated a guy that's gonna graduate, while Kaido got his whole dark reunion conspiracy theory from a graduating student. After Kaido gives a speech about how much he appreciates that guy, the third-year student's representative is gonna give a speech now. And that representative is Kongu. Turns out he got his together, studied hard, and is now on his way to Tokyo University. His speech sends everyone but Saiki into tears, and then they sing the school anthem as the episode ends. Maybe our boy Saiki will feel something at his own graduation? The next episode sees another self-obsessed cutie girl joining PK Academy. Her name is Rifuta Imu, and just like Teruhashi, she's obsessed with being the prettiest. As she walks through school, she lays her charms out on everyone, and is sure she'll be running things soon, until someone mentions Teruhashi. That's when everyone says that while Imu is cute, Teruhashi is on a different level. Imu doesn't believe it until she sees Teruhashi, and is blown away by her beauty. Teruhashi takes Imu to the cafeteria, and after spending some time with her, Imu realizes she's no match for Teruhashi, and she runs off crying, which is exactly what Teruhashi wanted to happen. Still, it's not all bad for Imu. Saiki thinks she's cuter than Teruhashi. Well. The next day, it's April Fool's, and Kaido is using it to get a fast one over on everyone. He gets Nendo the hardest, saying they're gonna shoot a beam out of the sky tree, and the poor bastard actually believes him. Eventually, Kaido gets in trouble for his pranks and is scolded by Matsuzaki. That's when Saiki uses his powers to stop the wind blowing his book away, and Kaido sees it. He only saw the book levitating though, so Saiki's secret is safe. Kaido tries convincing everyone of what happened, but they don't believe him. Later, Nendo brings a camera to take a picture of the sky tree beam Kaido told him about, and he accidentally drops it. The camera is heading straight for Kaido's face, so Saiki moves it out of the way before dropping it safely on the ground. This time, Nendo and Kaido both try convincing their classmates about what happened. So, they tell Kaido to drop the camera again. If it happens, they'll believe it. But with Saiki not helping out, the camera falls and gets blown to smithereens. So, Nendo and Kaido are left alone as their classmates walk off, and Nendo is pretty sad about his broken camera. Kaido is about to tell him the beam thing was a lie when Saiki shoots a beam from the sky tree. He didn't want Nendo to think Kaido lied to him. Now isn't that sweet? After that, pollen season comes around, and something crazy happens. Saiki has allergies. It's the first time this has ever happened though, and it's bad news. Every time Saiki sneezes, he destroys something with his psychokinesis. Luckily for him, he has medicine to rely on. All he needs to do is keep taking it throughout the day. Unfortunately, because of some Nendo shenanigans, Saiki ends up sneezing on his medicine, destroying it. So, Saiki has to teleport home and he runs out of class. But Nendo follows him because Nendo wants Saiki to watch him sneeze? The hell kind of reason is that? Nendo even pulls a pollen plant from his pocket. He really wants to sneeze in front of Saiki, so Saiki has no choice but to knock Nendo out. He's about to teleport home when he sneezes and breaks a wall. So he uses Nendo's pollen as a smokescreen, fixes the wall, and goes back home. Well, that was unnecessarily intense. Some time passes, and Saiki is with Kaido, Nendo, and Hiro as they're competing in the annual trash collection competition. Simply put, whoever collects the most valuable trash wins 1,000,000 yen. And I say valuable trash because apparently there's a scoring system for the kinds of trash you collect. Add that to the list of things that can only happen in Japan. Saiki and the others run into last year's winner, Gomi Hiroshi, who acts like he doesn't care about the town, but is really just in it for the money. After the competition starts, a guy approaches Saiki's group and offers them to team up to collect the most valuable kind of trash: cigarette butts. Hido's goody two-shoes ass refuses immediately, and they start collecting trash the right way. After a long day of work, Saiki and his team are in second place when they run into cigarette butt guy from earlier. Turns out, he teamed up with Gomi, and now they have like 2 kilograms worth of cigarettes. They're about to win. Saiki doesn't appreciate that, so he lights their bag on fire, taking them out of the competition. Unfortunately, Saiki and his team end up losing. How? Because, and get ready for this one, apparently a kid found the corpse of a Tsuchinoko, a snake-like creature from Japanese folklore stories. And by Saiki standards, I guess that's a pretty normal thing to have happen. The following day in school, Toritsuka comes to Saiki for some help. Apparently, the piano in the school music room is haunted, and he needs Saiki's help to investigate. So, the two of them go to investigate after school and find the spirit of a cute girl playing the piano. While ghosts usually can't touch anything, they can touch something if they're really attached to it. And this girl is really attached to the piano. Toritsuka has to ask the girl to leave since her piano playing is scaring the students. She agrees almost immediately, disappearing into the night. But when they get to school the next day, Toritsuka and Saiki see the piano getting taken away. People are thinking it's haunted. So, Saiki teleports the piano to Toritsuka's home so the girl can play the piano whenever she wants. Wholesome stuff. Episode 5 starts with Imu being mad at Teruhashi for being, well, Teruhashi. Every guy in the school fawns over Teruhashi, including the guy that was asking Imu out, and it's getting on her nerves. But when she sees Teruhashi talking to Saiki, she has a plan. After confirming that Teruhashi has feelings for Saiki, she plans to win Saiki's love so she can finally beat Teruhashi. Saiki knows her plan, and approves of it? The way Saiki sees it, if he gets along with Imu, Teruhashi will see and stop pursuing him. Then, Imu will have beaten Teruhashi, and she'll leave Saiki alone too. Great plan, buddy. So, Imu heads over to Saiki, and at first is super confused when she sees him. Why does Teruhashi like this loser? But when Saiki says Imu is cuter than Teruhashi, she suddenly sees him in a different light. Now, too embarrassed to ask him out, Imu runs off. And just like that, Saiki has 2 girls obsessing over him. Again. The next day, Saiki's parents are deep in thought. Both of their birthdays are coming up, and they're thinking about what to get each other. Last year, they both got life-size mannequins of Kuniharu for each other, which is a rabbit hole I do not want to go down. They both head out to get presents for each other, and Saiki checks on them to see what they're up to. Kuniharu wants to get Kurumi a huge DIY bear plushie, but she doesn't have the money for it. Meanwhile, Kurumi wants to get him a huge display for his figurines, but there's no space in the house for it. So, Saiki just figures they'll both get something else and move on. But that's not what happens. Like, at all. Turns out, they both got each other the exact thing Saiki thought they shouldn't, but there's a problem. You see, Kuniharu sold all of his figurines to be able to afford the DIY plushie, and Kurumi sent her DIY tools to her parents to make space for the display case. So, both of their gifts are useless, and yet they're both crying tears of joy. That's when Saiki finally understands gift giving. It's not the gift itself, but the thought behind the gift that makes it special. So, they just put the 2 Kuniharu mannequins in the display case and call it a day. Still super weird though. The next day, Saiki is walking along and minding his own business when he runs into a little hamster. The little hamster is in a bit of a pickle. It used to have the perfect life as a pet, but escaped to see the outside world. But after seeing that the world is an absolute mess, the hamster just wants to go back home. One problem, it doesn't know where it lives. Saiki says he can't help the hamster if it doesn't know where it lives, but that's when the annoying orange cat shows up. It knows where the hamster lives, so Saiki takes the hamster home and it sees its owners, only to find out they've replaced him with another hamster. So Saiki has to find the hamster another owner. So he tries testing out his friends. Unfortunately, they're all clinically insane and shouldn't be left within 10 feet of an animal. Hiro gets the hamster for a day and starts training it like a madman. Kaido scares the hamster half to death with the conspiracy theories, and Chiyo annoys it the other half to death with her gossiping. Teruhashi has a cat, so he can't take it either. That just leaves one candidate, Nendo. And Nendo is the perfect pet owner. Turns out he had a hamster as a kid and knows exactly how to take care of one. And just like that, Saiki has helped the hamster find its new home. I swear, Saiki's more of a superhero than most superheroes. Saiki comes home to find that Kusuke has sent them a massage chair, which turns out to be a prank because it electrocutes Kuniharu. That's when Saiki's parents realize something. Saiki's shoulders are as stiff as a statue. They suggest Saiki get a massage, but human hands won't work, so they try everything. A wooden sword, a metal pipe, and even stabbing him with an ice pick. But nothing works. Saiki's shoulders are still stiff. His dad uses an impact rammer, which helps a bit, but it's not enough. So, Saiki teleports away and uses a waterfall to massage himself. And when that doesn't do the trick, he blows up a rock and uses the pieces to hit his back. It's working until he notices an old lady staring at him. Panicking, Saiki teleports back home and accidentally sits on Kusuke's chair. He gets electrocuted, which ends up getting rid of all of the tension in his back and shoulders. Looks like Kusuke has lost to Saiki again. The next episode starts with Kuboyasu, Kaido, and Nendo inviting Saiki for a weekend of fun. But Saiko overhears them and laughs at how broke their plans are. Hey man, not cool! Saiko then proposes an idea. He says they'll take them all on a cruise to his private island, on one condition. They bring Teruhashi. Teruhashi agrees. Chiyo and Mera sign up too. And just like that, Saiki's whole gang is going on a cruise. When they get to the cruise, Saiki reads Saiko's mind and realizes the ship isn't fully prepared. And as the next scene sees them washed up on an unknown island, Saiki knows he should have stopped this cruise back then. What the hell happened here? We then see what happened. As Saiki got on the ship, Saiki saw a bunch of bad omens, including a black cat, but still decided to get on the ship. While on the ship, Kaido got seasick, so he fell asleep early. The flashback ends as Kaido wakes up on the island and starts panicking. The others all wake up too, and Saiko tells them not to worry. After all, his ship had a GPS in it, and there are probably search parties out looking for them right now. What's more, the ship's pantry floated to shore with them, so they have food and water to survive. That's when we go back to the flashback and see that Saiki got seasick too, even though Saiki denies it big time. With his seasickness, Saiki fell asleep early too, but how did the ship sink? We then see how the ship sank. When Saiki passed out, Teruhashi removed one of his hairpins. Oh no. You can guess what happened next, right? Saiki's powers caused the ship to sink. The crew escaped on a lifeboat while Saiki woke up underwater. So, he grabbed his friends in the ship pantry and tried to teleport to the nearest island. Unfortunately, he was sick, so he accidentally teleported them to an island off the coast of New Zealand, and nobody is gonna be able to find them there. Saiki himself teleports back home while the others are sleeping, and thinks about how to get them home without revealing his powers. When he gets back to the island, they realize that Mera is missing. Suddenly, a snake pops out of the bushes and pounces on them, only for someone to hit it with a spear. Brownie points if you can guess who did that. It was Mera. Duh. Turns out, being poor has made her a beast. She can hunt and find food on her own. She hands everyone a bag full of mushrooms and plants that they can eat, only for it to be too disgusting for them to even think of eating. Except Nendo. He gobbles that shit up like it's a buffet. Later, Nendo comes up with an idea. They should build a raft to float off the island. Saiki thinks that's a stupid idea until he realizes something. If they sail out into the ocean, he can teleport them back closer to Japan without anyone noticing. So, he teleports some tools to the island and they all get to building a raft. except for Saiko. He's too busy starving and being paranoid. Everyone else asks him to join them in building a raft, including Teruhashi, but Saiko's pride is too much. He rejects Teruhashi's charms and tells everyone to get lost. So, everyone else starts building the raft. They tame a wild meta along the way, and by the end of the night, they've made some solid progress. Saiki reinforces everyone's work while they go to sleep, and everyone is cheerful now, except for Saiko. What a jack. The next episode opens with Saiko returning the food Kaido and the others left for him. He's not eating it. They ask him why he's being so damn stubborn, so he tells the truth. He blames himself for the ship sinking, since he used it without proper maintenance being done on it. So, Richie thinks it's all his fault that the ship sank, but the others just say they're all to blame for planning the trip, and end up forcing him to eat ramen. Also, the next day, Saiko joins them for raft building as an instructor. Great. Saiki is ready to just get the raft done so he can teleport everyone back home, when Saiko ruins his plan. Saiko says that only half of them should leave the island. That way, if help arrives on the island, the other half of the group can direct them to the raft half. While the idea would normally be great, it's useless here since no one is coming to save them, and Saiki can't do anything to convince them otherwise. Later, they have to decide who gets to be on the raft and who stays back. After much discussion and petty infighting, they decide the groups. Saiki, Kaido, Chiyo, and Teruhashi are staying on the island, and the rest of them are going out on the raft. They finish the raft by nightfall, and Kaido gives an emotional speech about how he's glad they ended up on this island. With that, everyone goes to sleep, while Saiki focuses on his backup plan. What the hell is he up to? They wake up the next day and are ready to head out in the raft, only to find that they've been saved. Huh? Turns out, Saiki's backup plan was building a duplicate island. While everyone else slept, he took the trees and sand from their island to one much closer to Japan. Then, when the preparation was done, he teleported everyone over there, and since the island looked the same, no one noticed. And just like that, their nightmare is over. Not. Turns out, being lost at sea for 4 days has turned them all into celebrities. Saiko does everything he can to keep the media quiet, but Kaido won't stop yapping about it at school. As a result, everyone now knows that Saiki was stuck on an island and he hates the attention. What's more, the school press club starts writing slander about Saiki when he refuses to give them an interview. So, Saiki has no choice but to accept their offer. He has to give an interview. Oh well, this can't end well, can it? The name of the journalist is Juten Manako, and she's an absolute... She listens to Saiki's story and says it's not good enough, she can't print it. So, she asks Saiki to give her a picture of Teruhashi changing. Damn, is she insane? According to Manako, after spending 4 days on an island, there's no way Saiki didn't take one. Oh, okay, yeah, she is insane. Saiki is disgusted, tells her he did no such thing, and walks out. But Manako has an idea. The next day, she writes a story about how Saiki did take a picture of Teruhashi, specifically of her taking a dump, and that they're gonna reveal it tomorrow. All the Teruhashi fans are about to beat Saiki up until Teruhashi saves him. She says Saiki would never do anything like that. Anyway, Manako dresses up as Teruhashi and plans to fabricate the picture of her taking a dump, but Saiki uses his psychic powers to intervene, and the next day, the only picture on the board is of Manako taking a dump. Yeah, she got what she deserved. Fast forward to the last day of summer break, and the boys show up at Saiki's door to copy his homework with a bunch of coffee jelly as payment. While Saiki is munching down his sweets, he realizes something. He didn't fill out his picture diary for the month of August, which was part of his summer homework. He could do it in an instant, but not with his friends here. He can't reveal his powers. So, they decide to help him by combining the stories from their own diaries. After they do this for a bit, they realize Saiki had a really boring summer, which is exactly what Saiki wanted, but they don't get that. So, they say they should all head to the beach. Saiki then says that he did have a fun summer, and he'll prove it. So, he leaves the room, teleports to a bunch of cool places, does a bunch of cool stuff, and takes photos of it all. He then returns and shows the photos to his friends, who feel jealous and say they should all definitely go to the beach right now. Saiki just can't escape them. The next episode sees the biannual transfer student pop in. This time, it's a smoking hot girl named Mikoto Ayura, and just like Toritsuka, this girl's got powers. Specifically, her powers let her tell people's fortunes. She tells Chiyo that she has a 2% shot with the guy she's into, ouch, and Saiki can tell she's the real deal. After Miko tells Mera where to find her dad, in Puerto Rico of all places, she reveals why she came to this school. Her soulmate is here. All she knows is that he has pink hair and his initials are KS. Oh, I wonder who that could be. What's more, Miko says she can actually see people's aura, aka life force, but she can't do that right now, and Saiki knows he has to stay out of her sight. His secret will be ruined if she sees his aura. Oh boy. The next day, Miko's aura powers are back, and Saiki knows this. So he does the unthinkable. He skips school. While at home, he uses his powers to see what's going on. At school, Miko is using her powers to perfectly describe the personalities of all Saiki's friends. She's the real deal. Saiki realizes he can't hide from her, so he shows up and is about to confess to being a psychic when Miko says she can't see auras anymore. That's when Saiki realizes what's going on. His aura is so big that whenever he's around Miko, it covers everyone else's aura and she can't see it. So all he has to do is make sure she doesn't see his aura from a distance. Oh, and it turns out that Nendo's aura is bright, big, and beautiful. See, I knew he had a heart of gold. The next day, Saiki is walking home from school when he sees a kid getting bullied. He decides to intervene, only to realize that the kid is Yuta. He takes Yuta home and his mom tells Saiki he's been getting bullied lately. She asks Saiki to help, but Saiki doesn't want to interfere, at least as himself. So, the next day, when he sees Yuta getting bullied, Saiki obviously steps in by transforming into a kid. He punches one of the kids and sends them running away. Beating up kids half his age? Chad. Saiki then asks Yuta why the kids are bullying him, and Yuta reveals it's because he kicked them. It's his own fault. So, when the kids show up again, Saiki doesn't fight them. He apologizes. He asks Yuta to do the same, and puts an image of Ciderman in his brain. Ciderman tells Yuta to accept when he does something wrong. That's what true strength is. So, Yuta apologizes and learns a valuable life lesson. Saiki is one hell of a mentor. The next day, Saiki is walking with Kaido and Nendo when he gets stuck in a 13-second time loop. This kind of thing has been happening ever since he traveled through time, and it's because Saiki's brain is doing it subconsciously. The only way to get out of it is for Saiki to clear his brain. So, he does it and escapes the loop, only to get stuck in another one. So, he clears his mind again, and the loop is finished. That's when a truck is about to hit a kid, and Nendo jumps in front of him. So, Saiki uses his power to save them, only to realize he's now stuck in a loop of saving the kid and Nendo. It's a 6-second loop, and he doesn't have enough time to both save them and clear his mind. So, Saiki begins saving them again and again and again. He ends up saving them a total of 16,785 times. Luckily, he saves them so many times that he ends up doing it without using his brain, and that finally frees him from the loop. We then get a classic Teruhashi and Saiki situation. Teruhashi spots Saiki in public, but Saiki ignores her, and this pisses Teruhashi off. After that, Saiki is the only person who's immune to her charms, but today, she's had enough of his boldness. So, she uses her charms to get every single guy in the area to start looking for Saiki, which is pretty pathetic for the guys if you think about it. Unfortunately, Saiki just uses his invisibility to slip past her. Though everyone sees Teruhashi as an innocent girl, Saiki knows she's a narcissistic psychopath and brings way too much attention to herself, and he wants nothing to do with it. And here I was hoping they'd end up together. The next episode starts with Miko still on the search for her soulmate. She's checking all the guys that have the initial SK or KS, and her next target is Saiki. While Saiki spies on her, Chiyo runs into Miko. Miko says it's a bummer she can't see auras. She'd know her soulmate instantly if she could. That's when Chiyo theorizes that her soulmate's aura might be so big that it's dwarfing the others. How did a complete baka hit the bullseye like that? So, Chiyo and Miko decide to watch Saiki leave school and test the theory. Saiki, being Saiki, manages to trick them, and they're off of his trail. That's when Chiyo slips and falls off the roof. Saiki has no choice but to use his powers to save her. He couldn't hide it either. Chiyo and Miko know his secret. Well, this is unfortunate. Chiyo passes out, so Saiki teleports back on the roof and tells Miko he's a psychic. After Saiki convinces Miko he's telling the truth, Miko tells him some bad news. Chiyo has a death mark on her face. That means that Chiyo is going to keep ending up in life-ending accidents until the mark on her face disappears. Lucky for her, Saiki is there. He saves Chiyo from being poisoned by a fish she ate, thanks Mera, before stopping a truck from running her over. With that, Chiyo's death mark is gone, and Miko's head over heels in love with Saiki. Make that 3 absolute babes obsessed with Saiki. God damn. Sometime later, Saiki, Kaido, and Nendo go to attend a circus. Why? Because Oryoku is performing there, and he wants Nendo's mom to see him perform. One problem with that, Oryoku gets injured before the show, so Saiki has to bail his bumps out again. Even though he hates it, Saiki gets on stage and uses his powers to put on a show. One standing ovation later, he's ready to go home, only for him to have a vision of the future in which there's a horrible accident at the circus. Looks like he can't leave just yet. Since Saiki doesn't know exactly how the accident is going to happen, he hijacks all the performances. That way, if Saiki does the stunts himself, nothing bad will happen. After hijacking 2 performances, he tames the beastly lion and everything's safe. That's when Oryoku shows up. Turns out his injury wasn't that bad, and since Nendo's mom figured out it wasn't Oryoku on stage, Saiki did all of that for nothing. That's when the roof collapses, and Saiki manages to save everyone, though a kid does scrape his knee. But Oryoku cheers the kid up, and Nendo's mom looks at him with eyes full of love. Maybe it wasn't such a waste of time after all. The following day is a dark one for the school, because Teruhashi is sick. Everyone, including the teacher, is depressed, and they're wondering what happened to her. Saiki knows it's a cold, psychic privilege, and that's what everyone else assumes too, until Kaido says it might be something worse. With that, the rumors start spreading like wildfire, and now everyone thinks Teruhashi is gonna die. God damn it, Kaido. So, Saiki takes matters into his own hands. First, he removes his hairpin and convinces everyone that Teruhashi just has a cold. Then, he teleports to her room and knocks out Toru so she can rest without being annoyed. With that, Teruhashi returns to school the next day and everything goes back to normal. Well, it's about as normal as things can be at PK Academy. Episode 10 starts with Saiki's granddad waiting impatiently for Saiki and Kurumi to show up when he gets a call. Though the person on the phone doesn't sound like Saiki, he says he is Saiki and he needs 4 million yen from his grandpa. The old idiot falls for this blatant scam and heads out with the money. Saiki and his parents show up to learn what happened from Kumi, and Saiki teleports to save Kumagoro from this scam. When the scammer calls again, Saiki traces the call and teleports to the location, only to find that the call was pre-recorded. So, someone with a smart plan who Saiki can't sense with his telepathy. I sense some Kusuke shenanigans. Sure enough, Kusuke shows up, saying that this was all to teach Kumagoro how to avoid scams. Kumagoro should be mad, but this tsundere can't help but be happy that both of his grandsons are here now. He loves them. At dinner, it's a whole family reunion. Kusuke gives Kumi a gift and is about to give Kumagoro a gift too, until Kumi says they should go to the festival. In discussion for the festival, poor Kumagoro gets so excited that his blood pressure goes up and he passes out. So, the poor sop has to rest while the rest of the family goes to the festival. He didn't even get his gift! At the festival, Kusuke is up to his old scheming. He's trying to beat Saiki at literally anything. Anything. He chooses a shooting game and proceeds to pull out an atomic death laser. A little overboard, I'd say. Saiki manages to deflect the death ray and he wins again. But Kusuke says they'll have plenty of matches like this in the future. And that's because Kusuke has just graduated from college. He'll be living with his grandparents now. Ugh, why? Anyway, a few days later, Kuniharu tells Saiki to teleport to his grandparents to give Kusuke some stuff. But when he gets there, he sees something crazy. The entire town is full of robots. What in the Skynet is going on here? Saiki knows that this is Kusuke's doing, so he goes to his brother for answers. Kusuke says he's just helping out the elderly by introducing them to the state-of-the-art technology. And it's not just outside people. Kusuke has Kumagoro in a super suit, which makes him a freak athlete. Meanwhile, Kumi is de-aging in a pod like Goku and Vegeta, and she comes out looking much younger. Seeing this, Saiki thinks his brother might actually be doing the right thing. So, he hands over Kusuke his stuff, but Kumagoro accidentally knocks it over, and that's when they see what was inside the bag. A step-by-step detailed plan on how Kusuke was going to turn the inhabitants of this town into super weapons and use them to destroy Saiki, with the jig being all the way up. Kusuke just apologizes, then makes a run for it. What a... Some days later, Saiki gets ambushed by Miko at his favorite cafe. She used fortune-telling to figure out where he'd be. Creepy. She tries getting all lovey-dovey with him, but Saiki just wants his coffee jelly. That's when Toritsuka sees them and is shocked that Saiki is on a date. They're both being super annoying now, so Saiki tells them that they're both psychics. After proving it to each other, Toritsuka and Miko start fighting over who's Saiki's sidekick. Bars. And Saiki tries to leave, only to be scared by a cockroach. Toritsuka and Miko decide whoever kills the cockroach gets to be Saiki's super sidekick, and they get to it. But they both fail miserably, and the manager of the cafe ends up killing it himself. I guess the manager is Saiki's super psychic sidekick now. The next episode starts with something unbelievable happening. Nendo gets a love letter from a girl. Kaido and Saiki are dumbfounded. They can't believe it's true. Nendo is unaffected, saying it's no big deal. But Kaido basically tells Nendo that if he doesn't want to die single, this is his only chance. Harsh? That's when Hairo and Kuboyasu show up, and it's their turn to get bamboozled by the news. That's when Hairo takes a look at the letter. He realizes it's not a love letter, it's a recruitment letter for the baseball team from Maki Shiko, the baseball team manager. Oh, poor Nendo! The next period is physical education, and Saiki's class is doing judo. Saiki ends up with no partner, so he just practices judo with Mr. Matsuzaki, and actually manages to toss him on the ground. Matsuzaki now thinks Saiki has hidden judo talent, so he puts Saiki up against Hairo, a judo black belt. Saiki tries weaseling his way out of the match, but Hairo tells him to actually try, so Saiki does try, by controlling Hairo and making himself lose. Saiki may have lost, but he got some unwanted attention for himself. Luckily, Nendo goes next and beats Hairo without any practice, so the spotlight goes straight to him. Some time passes, and Teruhashi shows up to Saiki's house on New Year's. She wants to go to the temple with him. Unfortunately, that's when she's introduced to Kusuke, in all of his foolish glory. Saiki wants to get Teruhashi as far away from Kusuke as possible, but he joins them on their trip to the temple. On the way there, he asks if the two are dating, and Teruhashi says no. Kusuke says he understands. After all, they are worlds apart. Teruhashi thinks he's talking about her being out of Saiki's league, but it's the opposite. According to Kusuke, Saiki is a special talent and a genius, and Teruhashi, with her looks, is worthless in comparison. Teruhashi feels crushed, and she's not going to let that slide. So, she uses her tears to make every guy in the vicinity start chasing after Kusuke with the intent to kill. He gets away, and Saiki and Teruhashi are alone now. And this is the first time Saiki has ever been happy about Teruhashi's fan following. The next day, Saiki is looking at the school result, and he sees he's right in the middle, exactly where he wants to be. But Saiki is in awe of the guy who's one spot ahead of him, a kid named Sato Hiroshi. You see, all Saiki wants is a normal, ordinary life, but because of his powers, no matter how hard he tries, he can't have one. But Sato, he's the most average NPC human being that has ever lived. Average build, average weight, average IQ, average grades. He's everything Saiki wants to be. Saiki follows the average Sato around and even saves him from a thug. I think the fact that Saiki doesn't want his powers is the exact reason why he deserves them. After school, Saiki heads to the library to read some books. He finds a series of mystery novels that only 2 people have read before him, so he picks the first one up. But his invisible glove got torn, and he accidentally uses psychometry to see the 2 people who read the book before him, a boy and a girl who fell in love. Saiki thinks nothing of it and just reads the book. He finishes it and grabs the second book and sees further into the girl and boy's story. Pretty soon, he stops caring about the books and fully becomes invested in the love story. The girl ends up having a fiance, so the guy has an anime-style fight with the fiance, and the story ends on a cliffhanger. That's when the librarian tells Saiki to leave, and Saiki is about to walk out when he realizes that the librarian is the guy from the love story he was seeing. What's more, he has a wedding ring on. Looks like he won! Man, that was beautiful! The next episode opens with Imu having a nightmare about Saiki dating Teruhashi. Imu decides she can't have that. She'll confess to Saiki today. Saiki reads her mind and knows what she's up to, so he devises a plan, using Miko as a fake girlfriend to get rid of her. The way he sees it, the only reason that Imu is into him is because of her rivalry with Teruhashi, So, if Saiki is dating someone else, Imu will drop her interest. Miko agrees to help and acts all lovey-dovey with Saiki in front of Imu, but something weird happens. Imu isn't jealous. That's when Teruhashi shows up, and Imu hides Saiki and Miko in a locker. Huh? Turns out, Imu doesn't hate Teruhashi. She actually loves her. What? After a while, my dudes, hatred turns into obsession, then love. Anyway, the reason she hid Saiki in the locker was so that Teruhashi wouldn't be sad seeing him with Miko, and Imu is gonna make sure Teruhashi is happy. I think Saiki may have made things worse again. The next day, Imu invites Teruhashi to a mixer, sort of a blind date where guys meet girls. This is because Imu thinks Saiki is a piece of and Teruhashi deserves to be with someone better. Reading her mind, Saiki thinks this is a great idea. Teruhashi might end up liking someone else. So, he spies on Imu, Chiyo, and Teruhashi from the next room as they meet 3 rich models from a posh school. All 3 of them are super into Teruhashi, and Teruhashi's having a good time, but she thinks it'd be more fun if Saiki was here, and that's when something strange happens. The posh boys go to the bathroom, so Saiki knocks them out and takes them home, saying he can't let any of them have Teruhashi. Was Saiki jealous? The next day, Nendo brings his hamster, who he calls Nendo Jr. to school. Nendo Jr. reveals that he is always with Nendo. He was even stranded on the island with them, though he was hiding because he thought Mera might eat him, which is understandable. After Nendo Jr. takes in Kaido and Kuboyasu's hands, it's time to play basketball. Saiki's team has to clean up because they lost, and they end up getting locked in the equipment room. Saiki unlocks the room with his telepathy, but Nendo doesn't know that. Instead, he says that Nendo Jr. is going to save them by going and getting the keys. Unfortunately, Nendo Jr. gets spotted by Matsuzaki, and they all get scolded by him. Oh, and Nendo Jr. is a female hamster, just thought I would mention that. The next day sees Saiki keeping tabs on Sato, the average guy from earlier. Saiki respects the guy more than anyone else. After all, he's everything Saiki wants to be, perfectly average. He even spends an average amount of time in the bathroom. This guy is a straight NPC. Toritsuka shows up behind Saiki as he spies on Sato and tries to instigate a fight between Sato and Nendo, but Sato expertly navigates the conflict and gets out unharmed. That's when Saiki decides he's gonna be friends with Sato. To do that, Saiki stands in front of school reading Sato's favorite manga, listening to his favorite band, and drinking his favorite juice. Sato is about to talk to him before deciding Saiki is weird and just goes home. Ouch! The next day, Kuboyasu, Kaido, and Nendo all need haircuts. So, they go to the salon and drag Saiki along with them. There, Kaido and Kuboyasu get their usual cuts, but Nendo gets a completely different haircut, and it looks really good. The next day at school, Nendo shows up with a scarf hiding his butt chin and his new haircut. As a result, the girls at school are really into Nendo now. Kaido and Kuboyasu are super jealous, so they try to embarrass him. It doesn't work, and they end up getting scolded by the girls. Unfortunately for Nendo, he doesn't need Kaido and Kuboyasu to slander him. His disgusting behavior is enough to throw the girls off again. Poor guy. The next episode starts with Saiki getting ambushed by Miko again, when the two of them run into Mera. Turns out she needs them to come to a restaurant or she'll be fired. Why? Because she took a bite out of a customer's food. Damn it, Mera. So Saiki and Miko head over there. Miko buys Mera some food, and Mera tells them she's working 12 part-time jobs. When Miko asks why, Mera says it's because she's saving up to go to Puerto Rico and meet her dad. Mera goes back to work, and Saiki is still mad at Miko. After all, the reason Mera's working so hard is because Miko told her where her dad is. Besides, she doesn't know if Mera will be happy to meet her dad. With that, Saiki leaves and Miko doubles down. She's gonna tell Mera exactly where her dad is. So, Miko looks at her orb and screams. Mera's dad is headed right where they are, and that's when Saiki runs into a man, and it's Mera's dad. His name is Kiyoshi, and he wants to learn how Mera is from Saiki. You see, Kiyoshi used to be rich and dandy until he lost all of his money. He was in debt to some nasty people who had him working overseas in Puerto Rico, but he's at his limit now. The best he can do for his family is die so they can collect the insurance money. Saiki hears his story and just bails. He wants nothing to do with it. Meanwhile, Mera and Miko track down Kiyoshi and start chasing him. While that's happening, the debt collectors decide to kidnap Mera along with her friends. starting with Saiki. This turns out to be a big mistake. Meanwhile, Mera and Miko catch up to Kiyoshi and Mera demands answers. Kiyoshi says he had to run, but Mera calls bull. She wants her dad to stay so they can face their challenges as a family. That's when the debt collectors show up and say Kiyoshi's debt has been forgiven before running off. Saiki definitely gave them a good scare, and just like that, Mera's family's been reunited. Yeah, he's gotta be a superhero! Some days later, Saiki is reading a manga called Silent Cyborg by author Fudekichi Shiragami. Usually, Saiki is a big fan of the manga, but for the past 3 weeks, it's been, well, kinda dog. That's when Kuniharu sees him reading the manga and reveals he's Shiragami's new editor, and he's been on the job for 3 weeks. Oh, okay, yeah, I see what the problem is. Just then, Kuniharu goes to meet Shiragami, and Saiki follows him through astral projection. He finds out what the issue is. Kuniharu is giving Shiragami terrible advice, and Shiragami is too much of a pushover to say no. So, Saiki knocks his dad out, he then transforms into Kuniharu and tells Shiragami to ignore all of his advice. And just like that, Silent Cyborg is good again. Man, I wish I could have done that to the Zack Snyder DC films. With spring approaching, Saiki and his friends decide to go watch the cherry blossom trees. Unfortunately, all the good spots have been taken by unemployed, lifeless losers who've been there for 2 days straight. No matter what they do, our gang here cannot get a spot. And when they think that they found one, a guy starts taking a dump there to assert his territory. Good God, that's disgusting. And probably illegal too. So, the friends have to watch the cherry blossoms from a distance and are ready to give up on their picnic until Teruhashi shows up. She uses her charms to help them get a primo spot to watch the cherry blossoms. One problem with that, everyone is crowding Teruhashi, so they can't see the cherry blossoms. Well, you win some, you lose some. Following that, Saiki heads out to do some training. He throws rocks around, checks his reflexes, all that superhero stuff. And why does he do that? Because Saiki has a mission. You see, there's been a series of earthquakes happening, and they're all caused by a volcano that's going to erupt in Japan. If it erupts, it'll destroy the entire country. So Saiki is training to control and stop the volcano. Saiki goes to the volcano and tries to stop the explosion, but fails to do it. So he sets the time for the whole world back 1 year again. That's why Saiki's been in his second year of high school for 4 years now. He hasn't found a way to stop the volcano yet. And with his mind-bending powers, no one questions the fact that he's been in the same class for 4 years now. This part is called Preface to the Final Episode. That volcano might just turn out to be important. The next episode starts with Saiko getting a trial from his dad. He has to spend 24 hours without getting any help from family resources. Saiko tells this to Kaido, Nendo, and Saiki after school and says he's gonna need help getting home. After all, he doesn't know the way back. How spoiled is he? Nendo agrees to take him back, so Saiki and Kaido decide to join him too. Along the way, Saiko says he's hungry, but he can't afford caviar, so Nendo says they should just go eat ramen. After having a crash out about waiting in line, Saiko decides to suck it up and wait for 30 minutes before eating ramen. The next day, when his trial is over, Saiko tells all his servants how hard the 24 hours were, so his chef says he'll make Saiko anything he wants. And Saiko asks for ramen. He thinks he's slick, huh? The next day, Saiki goes to school, and Toritsuka shows up asking for his help to catch a cat. Ugh, not this guy again. Miko shows up too, and the 3 psychics head out to grab a cat. After some funny antics, Saiki just grabs the cat, and the psychics all go on their way. Until Miko's crystal ball shows her something terrible. A train is gonna crash. She calls Toritsuka and Saiki to tell them what's up. Saiki takes Toritsuka and teleports to the top of the train. There, he tells Toritsuka to channel the spirit of a train conductor and save the train. It'd be too suspicious if Saiki did it with his powers. So, Toritsuka saves the train and turns to get some praise from Saiki, only to see security guards asking him why in the hell he's driving a train. Yeah, I don't feel bad for the pervert. The following day, Saiki gets told he needs to write a report for his club, the Occult Club. Saiki says only the president and vice president write reports, but the teacher tells him he is the president. Toritsuka bailed on the club. What a scumbag. So, Saiki writes the report and hands it over when he gets ambushed by Chiyo. Chiyo guilt trips him for not coming to club meetings and blackmails him into showing up. But when he gets there, it's just Arisu and Chiyo. It's more of a girls' club than a ghouls' club. Chiyo and Arisu then start asking Saiki for guy-related advice. But when Saiki's uninterested, Chiyo pulls out a doll and starts pretending she's talking to a spirit. She then tries to make Saiki confess his feelings for Teruhashi, but Saiki uses his telepathy to scare the living out of the girls, making them run off. The next morning, Kuniharu and Kurumi get into a fight over who loves the other more. Man, where can I find that kind of love? After some bickering, they decide to use Saiki's favorability meter to judge who loves the other more. Kuniharu goes first, and his love score for Kurumi is over 38,000. Kurumi goes next, and it looks like he's gonna be beaten, so he farts, which stops Kurumi's score just before she overtakes him. This bickering goes on for a bit until Kurumi comes up with a different challenge. They'll see who loves Saiki more. As soon as the meter on Kuniharu's love for Saiki starts, he bails. Saiki doesn't understand why, but we do. It's because Kuniharu's number for Saiki is exactly the same as his number for Kurumi. He loves them both equally. Isn't that beautiful? The next day at school, it's art class, and everyone has to get into pairs and draw their partners. As usual, Saiki gets no partners and has to pair up with the worst possible pick, Teruhashi. Teruhashi's entire fanbase is waiting to see what Saiki draws, while Teruhashi herself is struggling to not draw Saiki too romantically and give her feelings away. Saiki could draw a perfect portrait, but tries to make a normal picture instead, and he keeps messing it up, including drawing Teruhashi as a member of the Ginyu Force from Dragon Ball Z. In the end, Saiki just gives Teruhashi's fans an empty paper, and they say that the empty canvas represents Teruhashi's radiance and elegance. Poor Teruhashi, she just wanted a portrait from Saiki. Episode 15 starts with Saiki, Kaido, and Kuboyasu following Nendo as he goes to play baseball. When they get there, they meet the captain Sugawara, who's a super cliche baseball player. That's when the principal shows up and tells the team that if they don't win the next match, the team will be disbanded. Also a cliche. Then, they find out that they're going to be playing against one of the toughest teams out there. Another cliche. And then, Sugawara says their star player Abe got suspended a little while ago. That's when Saiki realizes what's happening. They're stuck in a cliche sports manga story. This is reinforced when Sugawara gets injured and Saiki has to step in for him. The next day, Saiki pretends he's injured, and Kuboyasu is too embarrassed of his past to play, so Kaido steps in and immediately injures himself. Idiot! With Kaido out, Kuboyasu decides to step in and the game starts, with the opposing team playing their backups. That's just disrespectful. While the game is going on, Saiki is doing cliche math in his head. He figures that for his manga story to have a happy ending, two things need to happen. First, the star player Abe needs to return and give the team a boost. Then, in the 9th innings, Captain Sugawara will show up and win them the match. Abe is there watching the match, but gets clunked on the head by a stray baseball. So, Saiki has no choice but to take control of Abe's body and start playing, slowly but surely, and with a lot of sports cliches. PK Academy starts making a comeback. Then, it's Nendo's turn to bat. Saiki wants to make sure Nendo follows all the cliches so they can have the perfect ending. But there are two problems with that. 1, Nendo is an idiot. And 2, Nendo is really good at baseball. By the time Sugawara makes it to the stadium, the game is already over. PK Academy won by a landslide, all thanks to Nendo. But the cliches don't end there. After the game, they all go out for dinner, and they meet another baseball team there. Cliche. So, they have an eating competition. Cliche, which ends in a draw. Super cliche. Saiki was there with his parents and saw the whole thing. He just can't escape the weird things that happen in this town sometimes. Some days later, Saiki is devastated when his favorite manga ends. But they have bigger issues to worry about, because Kuniharu's company just went bankrupt. He's out of a job. So, Kuniharu decides to open his own business, licking shoes. He doesn't actually lick the shoes, but it's still pretty pathetic. Luckily for Kuniharu, Kusuke helps him turn the business into a huge success. After it gets popular, Kusuke creates the Shoe Licky, a device that licks your shoes clean. It's a huge hit, and Kuniharu thinks he's rich, until Kusuke says he owns the company and Kuniharu is getting nothing from it. What's more, Kusuke put Kuniharu's old publisher back in business, so the poor man has to lick his boss's shoes and beg for his job back. Jesus! Who does that to their own dad? The next day at school, it's Mera's birthday, but instead of waiting for gifts like a normal person, she's out collecting them like the IRS collects taxes. Mera only wants food as her gift, and acts all sad and heartbroken when someone gives her anything other than food. Mera did give everyone a birthday gift on their birthdays, but it was the same thing, a single acorn to be used as a good luck charm. Mera keeps her gift collection up, being rude to anyone who doesn't give her food. But when she's rude to Teruhashi, everyone decides they've had enough and take their gifts back. Mera dropped to her knees. All she wanted was to bring some food home to her family so that they could eat without being broke for one day. So, Saiki tricks everyone into thinking the acorn charm actually works, and they all give Mera her food back. The next episode starts with Imu going to Saiki for help. Basically, if Imu doesn't find a boyfriend soon, she's gonna end up falling for Teruhashi big time, and that's gonna be a problem. So, Saiki tries pairing her with Takahashi, but that obviously doesn't work. That's when Chiyo shows up and starts helping him out, but Imu rejects Haido, Saiko, Kuboyasu, and Kaido. She has a thing for Toritsuka for a minute, but that was only because he was channeling a spirit. After school, Imu is explaining her frustrations to Teruhashi when they run into Toru, and Imu instantly falls for him. Bad taste, lady. Bad taste. Speaking of Toru, Teruhashi's birthday is coming up, and he can't focus on his acting job until he gets her a gift. So, Toru disguises himself and goes shopping, where Saiki recognizes him. Toru sees Saiki too, and makes Saiki come along as he buys Teruhashi some gifts. Toru proceeds to buy the most useless, worthless gifts of all time, while Saiki buys her a cute cup with dogs on it. Knowing Toru would be insufferable if Teruhashi hates all his gifts, Saiki decides to swap his cute dog cup with the atrocious cup Toru buys. And wouldn't you know it, that cup is the only gift Teruhashi ends up liking.
さてと、これどうしたものか。
Later, Toritsuka hears some girls talking about a haunted house, so he gathers the occult club again. They're going to go and investigate. Arisu, Chiyo, Kaido, Toritsuka, and Saiki all head over to the abandoned building. Toritsuka says something is off. Usually, an abandoned building should have about 6 spirits inside, but this one has none. They investigate and find out that one spirit pranked the others, and now they're all mad at him. So, Toritsuka tells the spirit he should apologize and be friends with the other spirit in the nicest exorcism of all time. And just like that, the case is solved. Well, Saiki and Toritsuka know the case is solved. Everyone else just thinks that they're talking to themselves and have lost their minds. That's the price of being a psychic sometimes. A few days later, Saiki sees a brand new coffee jelly machine on TV, and he wants it. He can get a discount by trading in his older one, but he still needs 10,000 yen. So, he brings out his alter ego, 100 Yen Man. Basically, when he's 100 Yen Man, Saiki will fulfill any wish his parents have, but it'll cost them 100 yen. He starts helping his mom and dad out and takes money, but his dad wants a lot of help. So Saiki keeps upping the price for the wishes until he's 1,000 Yen Man. Alright, I'm done. Still, when he's done all of his parents' chores, he only has 2,600 yen. So, he goes to his granddad. At first, Kumagoro doesn't want any help and is gonna give Saiki the money anyways, until he realizes the possibilities. So, he makes Saiki do all of his chores and make him look younger. With that, Saiki has enough money and finally buys the new coffee jelly machine, only for the TV to show another new machine that's even better. After school, Kaido shows up and forces Saiki to come with him and Nendo to his secret base. What is he, 12? Anyway, Kaido tries to get them to hang out, but they want to leave. After all, there's nothing to do there. Kaido's hideout is pretty lame. That's when Kuboyasu shows up and says the reason they don't like the hideout is because it's not finished yet. They're gonna build a treehouse too. So Saiki uses his powers to help as his friends throw together a treehouse in one day. Because they're all idiots, the only thing holding the treehouse in place is Saiki's powers. And when a random beetle falls on Saiki's face, he passes out, and the tree goes down with him. Stupid bug. The next episode opens with Saiki getting a package that he thinks is coffee jelly, but it's actually a bomb! It goes off, and Saiki turns back the time on his house by a day. He knows the only guy that is smart enough to pull this is Kusuke. That's when Kusuke pops up on the TV and reveals what he has in store for Saiki. Kusuke's hidden 5 cards all over town in different locations, and if Saiki can't find them before